My first memories of music was probably at home finding a box of 7 inches that belonged to my parents, and I remember finding a Beatles record. I think the B-side was Working Class Hero. Might actually be John Lennon rather than the Beatles, and loads of kind of traditional stuff and dodgy Nana Muscuri records and stuff like that. And I have an older brother as well who was always a couple of years ahead of me in terms of music, so he probably introduced me to a lot of stuff when I was young. I remember spending a summer in Rotherham, and that was the first time I ever bought records. I remember clearly going shopping with my own money to go and buy some stuff, and I think I bought 3 7-inches that day. It was the week True Faith came out, New Order, so that's officially or unofficially the first record I ever bought, but I also bought Def Leppard's Animal that day as well. So. And then my brother went to college about 4 years before me, and he got very much into music, and he was running a club in Galway, so he was coming home with My Bloody Valentine records and Pixies records and Bauhaus and The Cure and stuff like that, so I really started to get heavily into music through his record collection. And then I suppose when I moved to Dublin and started college, I just started to kind of find my own way and started buying a lot of stuff. And since then, it's been a bit of an obsession, really, you know, in terms of listening to it, going to gigs, buying music, playing music, everything. So, yeah.
It's a total melting pot how it all comes together. I mean, there's 4 of us in the band. We all like very different things. We all come from very different musical backgrounds. Someone comes in with an idea, we tend to build it on that, or maybe Steve might work on something at home from the more electronic side of things, and he comes to the band with an idea, or one of us that comes to the band with an idea. Sometimes it's done sitting on a computer, other times it's done in a room playing instruments, and we add the electronics later. It totally depends. It is unusual. I mean, it tips its hat in lots of different directions, but I suppose it is a kind of a melting pot of everything we've been listening to all through your life. I mean, do you think music you listen to even as a kid comes out later on in different ways? And we never really have a set goal to do anything. We just kind of try and create something, and if it feels right, we go with it. I mean, to do this record, there was the guts of 40 tunes written for it. Different people bring in different ideas, and Steve had a lot of ideas as well. And then we bring those together, and then we work on them. Some things fall off naturally because they're just not working out. Other things just don't seem to sit with the other songs. Well, there might be good songs that just don't necessarily fit with it. And we thought we'd have arguments over what went on the record, but we actually put a vote to it, and we all pretty much picked kind of the same 10, 11, 12 songs, and then it came down to 10. So it just kind of felt right. It was quite nice. It was quite natural. It was quite an organic process, but how it came together, you know. So it just kind of felt right, and you just kind of know in your heart whether it's working or not, you know. So
I suppose it's probably a very natural thing. In terms of lyrics, we treat like vocals as just like another instrument. It's no different to drums or synths or guitar or anything. So if it serves the song, it's in there. If it's not needed, there's no requirement for it. But it's a lot of work goes into the songs initially in the writing process, and we do all come from very different backgrounds musically, so everyone kind of pushes and pulls in different directions, and it kind of brings us somewhere hopefully new, somewhere different. But ultimately, I think it just ends up kind of feeling right. You kind of know, as Jess said, we probably wrote the guts of 40 tunes, but we knew in our hearts what 10 or 12 tracks were going to end up on the record, and it's quite a democratic process when we go to. We put a lot of things to the vote. If something works, if it doesn't work, and it all just seems to fit into place.
It depends. I mean, some of the lyrical ones would come from a lyrical idea, and that would come from some of the lyrical ideas, but other ones, it just depends. It might come from the initial idea. Sometimes it's given a working title. Most of them had working titles. It's a running joke, like a new tune is a regular new title in the Halfset set, but then we end up naming them, or sometimes you put a name on it where you know, it can stick, or you just get a vibe off something and it works it out. Maybe there's a reason behind it. I mean, there's a few ones that got names. We all name them variously. I mean, Killian, you were Desire Lines and a few things like that. And
yeah.
We might just have ideas about things, or be talking about things with a certain vibe off a track, which we get, and we kind of work it from that. But again, there's no hard and fast rule.
Same with Million Little Pieces.
Sure. Yeah.
We were in Leitrim at the time. We used to go down to Leitrim quite a bit. Steve's Steve and Sinead, Sinead's parents have a house down there, and we bring all the equipment down to Leitrim and kind of write solidly for the weekend. And I think whatever book I was reading that weekend, just to give something a working title, it came from the book. Same with Desire Lines, it was just something I stumbled upon. And
not Cecilia Hearn's book, though.
Exactly. It was actually a working title for the album until we found out Cecilia Hearn was going to release a book by the same. So we scrapped that. But we kept it as
she's been a huge influence.
As a title for the song, because the concept of Desire Lines is quite nice. It's quite nice.
I think it's great to get. It's an amazing thing to get. I mean, there's a lot of great Irish albums come out this year. I think it's brilliant. It just draws a bit of attention to it. I mean, we've always only had one goal, and that was to make the best music we could make and put it out there. And we essentially make music for ourselves. So when someone else notices it or recognises it, that's great. You know, it's a bonus, and it's kind of like, I suppose, a pat on the back for all the hard work. But it's brilliant. I mean, it's great to get, you know.
I suppose stuff like the Irish Independence Album of the Year and getting nominated for the Choice Prize is it's really good in terms of recognition, and I suppose it does validate what we do in a way. It doesn't change. It doesn't change why we make music. It doesn't affect us in any way like that. But I suppose our music and the album, it's quite specialist. So it's not the kind of thing you're going to hear on daytime radio. It's not going to get that much exposure. So it's really good when people pick up in press, give it really good reviews, or want to talk to us. And definitely something like the Choice Prize, then it really helps get the name out there, because
I think in a funny way as well, it nearly validates the record for people who may not have listened to it and kind of have a view of it. I mean, we're happy with the record when we put it out there, and whoever hears it, it's a bonus, or whoever takes the time to listen to it. But getting some attention like that, either in the Choice or the Independent or whatever the case may be, it kind of, I suppose, it validates it for people.
I think it's quite good for a lot of bands, a lot of Irish bands, to see a band like Halfset on the Choice shortlists, because there are a lot of bands out there like us, say, doing similar things, that maybe don't get the recognition, and maybe feel that they do fall outside the kind of traditional mould of a band that would normally gig a lot, or get a lot of radio play, play festivals, that kind of thing. So I suppose it's good for us to be seen on the list amongst like very, very big bands as well, because we are a small band,
People always ask us when this stuff happens and say, oh, what's next and what's happening now, and where do you go from here, and what's the next step and what's the next stage? And we never viewed it that way. We never started with music to do that, and it's always just to make something beautiful and make something we believe in and keep doing it. And I mean, that's what we'll do. And it's like, there's no kind of next step. I mean, Ireland's a very small country, and it's a tough country to play music in if you're trying to do it commercially or to make a living from it. But the view is just to keep making music.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of it. For us, is that like there's no record label out there waiting on an album from us. There's no one waiting to make money out of us. So we work at our own pace, and we don't have to compromise in any way. We can write exactly what we want. If that's like an 8-minute instrumental track, and if that's what feels right, that's what we do. So we're privileged in a way where we don't have to rely on it to pay the rent, where it's not our career. Some of us work in the industry, but we all have full-time jobs. We all do our thing. It's something we take really seriously, and we put a huge amount of work into. But thankfully, we're our own bosses, and we can do what we want.
That's more liberating than doing a tour of the world, in my point of view, because you're doing it in your own terms. I mean, there's so many bands doing things that they hate doing.
There was so many great, really good records out this year. I counted about 30 that I thought would get in there before Halfset. I was totally shocked when we got the nod. So yeah, I mean, anyone that's in there can win it on the night. Anyone that's in there deserves to win it.
Anyone who makes a record, I mean, it's really tough work making a record. It's a long process, and a hell of a lot of work goes into it. Whether you love the music or hate the music, I think anyone who's making music, particularly independently, for whatever reasons, I mean, you have to say hats off. So whoever wins, wins.